Well, hello. It's Rob here, touchscaper dev, back for another touchscaper tips session by popular demand. Thanks so much for the really huge amount of encouraging comments on the last video. That really is appreciated, and I'm going to inflict my monotonous and rambling voice on you again today. So this is a kind of a follow-on from yesterday's video. So we're going to go a little bit beyond the basics. So if you're jumping into this one and you haven't seen the previous one, it might be a good idea to watch the other one before this one. And speaking of good videos to watch, Doug at the Sound Test Room did a great, not so much an introductory video, but kind of, it's a really good video to watch if you're either new to the app or you haven't maybe played with it in a while, because I'm always adding new stuff and tweaking things. So it's a great, first video to watch on touchscaper to give you a real overview of kind of what the app's all about. So highly recommend that if you haven't watched it already. And of course, it's always good to support these guys that have Patreon set up and all that jazz. Excuse me. So today, MIDI again. So we've got MIDI enabled, but we've got nothing appearing in the connections destinations. When I say nothing, session 1 will always appear. You can pretty much ignore that. There are situations where you might want to use that, but I think we're going to focus on app-to-app MIDI interaction in the context of this video, and I'm guessing that's basically what most people want to do. Something that occurred to me after reading the comments on yesterday's video, some folks kind of like to follow along, which is really nice that they do that. Pretty humbling, actually. And it struck me that I should probably use presets if you happen to have the same apps as I'm using in these videos, and then you can kind of get the same sounds. Otherwise, you might be left thinking, well, why does mine sound different? It's probably because something's mapped differently, especially when you get into the nitty-gritty of setting up MPE and stuff. So I'm going to be using presets today, and I'm going to be using 3 Moog apps. It's another Moog fest, I'm afraid, but what can I say? They're just great apps. So let's fire them up. I'm going to use Animoog again, and I'm going to use the Beast, as I call it, and we'll use Model D as well. So it's wanting to play already. Just you settle down, Model D. I'll get to you. Right. So we're going to do a layered main instrument this time round. Because we only used one layer. We had Animoog set to instrument A. I can't remember what I had for breakfast today, let alone what I did yesterday. And then I think we'll use model 15 for layer B, because that has nice MPE routing options, and we might have a poke around with the cables if I can remember what the heckity flip I'm doing, because as I said, model 15 is it's a cabley monster in a good way. It's a benign beast, not a nasty one. And then I think we'll have model D on the ribbon. Excuse me again, sorry. We've got some strong coffee on today. The water wasn't cutting it yesterday, so we got some nice strong Italian coffee, I believe. Right, okay, we're rambling again. Let's crack on. So if we open our MIDI connections. We've got the aforementioned apps all ready, willing and able. Let's just quickly take a look at the presets before I forget. So Moog, I'm using a preset which is in the, I believe it's in the pads. Yep, it's in the pads category. And it is called Subtle Whole Tone. And it sounds like this. So you can hear it's got a nice bit of that aftertouch glidey stuff going on. So we're going to enjoy that. Let's see. We've got, again, another pad category preset in Model 15. I hope you can read that. It's called Evolving Pads. And I guess we better get a keyboard up. Let's use the Moog keyboard so we can see what's going on with pressure. So I hope you can hear that. It's kind of introducing a little bit of a wobble, for want of a better term. We'll play around with that maybe. There's definitely something going on. Yeah, you hear it on the higher note maybe. Yeah, we'll have a mess around with that because that might be kind of fun to do. If I can remember how to do all that stuff. I don't want that. Okay, and then what else? Oh yeah, Model D. I've got, it's a classic, and boy is it a classic. It's the classic of classics. We've got to have a bit of theremin going on today. I think it's a good day for a bit of theremin. Therapeutic theremin. I nearly closed it down there. That would have been silly. Okay, let's hook things up. Oh, I forgot. We talked about this yesterday, but just to kind of reiterate, MIDI for Moog is MPE. Don't worry about these guys. This has always confused me a bit. Maybe someone can kind of educate me in the comment section. I get that you can kind of turn these guys on and off, but you see that I've got this off, but I'm accepting MIDI in via MPE, so I don't know. They're there. I mean, it's seeing them, all the touchscaper stuff, but I don't bother switching any of this stuff on or off. Just kind of works. Anyway, important thing: MIDI in, MPE, and just for the sake of completion, is that the right word? You know what I mean. MIDI, MPE, and in the case of Moog, because we're going to assign this to the ribbon, we're actually going to be in Omni input channel. So that's basically saying that Model D is quite happy listening on all 16 MIDI channels. Okie dokie. Right, let's wire these connections up. So, main instrument A, we're going to send that to Moog using MPE. Main instrument B, we're going to hook that up to Model 15, again using MPE. Keyboard ribbon, we're going to use Model D. And notice there's a little padlock on MPE. That means currently the keyboard ribbon doesn't do per channel note assignment as it does with these guys. That might change. I'm not promising, but MP on the ribbon is pretty cool, and I did have that working at some point. In fact, I think maybe the second MIDI demo has that working. So just keep in mind that this may be unlocked at some point, and your existing setups will work fine. It just means you'll be able to do MPE stuff on the keyboard ribbon. So just to quickly check that that's all nicely persisted. Main instrument A, Moog, main instrument B, model 15, keyboard ribbon, model D, Omni. Speaking of persistence, this stuff gets saved. I know there's other areas of the app where this whole persistent thing is an absolute mess. And I apologize for that. It's kind of, as the app has evolved, it's grown arms and legs, and you know, you're somewhere over here and you save it, and then you open something else and you have to save it. With MIDI config, I just basically save stuff every time you change something, because I think with this sort of setup, it's just something that you want to set up. You don't want to say, oh, I want to, you know, save this or not save it. It's, you just want it persisted all the time. So that's what it does. Okay, so the only thing I want to do is let's mute. There's a little glitch there, actually, what may be worth mentioning. You've got to select stuff to mute it. And I think I mentioned yesterday that when you mute A, you mute B, or unmute, and vice versa. If you can see, instrument A has been muted in tandem with instrument B. Okay, so we are good to go now. Let's have a listen. At long last. So I've got some funky chords because I thought yesterday's chords were a bit kind of, well, not very funky. So I was reminded when I was watching Doug's stream last night, he used this funky chord browser thing. The chord navigator, I think I ended up calling it. There's probably another app called that. It's ever so difficult coming up with names of things. But anyhow, this allows you to kind of look at potential chords that you could use. And this is how I came up with this chord change. So you can see, for example, I'm taking it out of key, or I'm saying you can suggest chords that aren't necessarily in the key of C sharp. And it's saying, oh, A major 7th would be a good one. It has two notes that are the same. If I go to, let's listen to that chord actually. So we're getting a little preview on the sequence of piano sound there, in case you wondered what was going on there. So C sharp major 7th, going to, all right, A major 7th, A major 7th going to, D major 7, sounding like the Cuckoo video. I'm the worst ever Cuckoo video tribute vlogger. If you don't know who Cuckoo is, oh, you need to. He's this gear demo guy. He's fantastic. Anyway, D major 7 going to A sharp major 7. So I'm going for chords that have at least two of the same notes as the previous chord, and because I'm using major 7th chords, which is a 4-note chord, I'm sure most of you know that, it gives you some interesting navigational paths from a chordal point of view. And then if you were to glance at those chords and say, what key am I in? Well, you'd be kind of struggling to see a discrete key. There's probably all sorts of funky modulation going on, but I don't know. And what's more, I don't really care. I just think they sound kind of cool. So there you go. It's kind of Deadmau5 meets John Barry, James Bond theme kind of stuff. Right, okay. Excuse me, quick glug of coffee. Sorry about this. I don't edit these videos, by the way. You probably gathered that, so what you're getting is real-time stuff, complete with all the awkward silences and barking dogs and all that kind of stuff. Right, let's have a listen. So if you can remember back that far, because it does seem like a long time ago, we've got Moog and Model 15 on the main instrument. Well, I think that's sounding pretty majestic to me. I hope you agree. So let's kind of move around a bit. Okay, so maybe a couple of notes so we can hear what's going on a bit better. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm not really hearing much going on. It's very subtle, the Model 15 side of things. So let's have a fiddle about with that. The beast. Where would that? It's down here somewhere, isn't it? There we go. So I don't know if you can see, given that this isn't a screen recording, we're doing a camera on the iPad. But you can maybe just about make out behind that cable the aftertouch has been routed out from somewhere or other. Anyway, it's going in here. You can see I'm a real Model 15 power user. And there's an attenuator here. So I think what we could do is just crank it. Yeah, it's the, if you see up here, it's the reversible attenuator level. I feel like I'm on the bridge of Star Trek whenever I try and fly this thing. The Enterprise, I mean. You know what I mean. It's great though. It's a great app. Did I reroute something? What I've noticed with, if you've got an iPad Pro, does that kind of get on your nerves as much as it does mine? I think there's a thing you can do programmatically that kind of resists the tendency for you to be able to swipe up like that. And I thought about doing that in touchscaper, and then it kind of started to do my head in. See, mine is quite okay with doing that. Anyway, sorry, going off on one. Sorry, Moog, it's a great app, and I don't mind about the swipe up business. So let's have a listen again now that we've tweaked that Model 15 attenuator. Oh yeah. That is just on the right side of a bit nasty, but kind of quite lovely as well. Should we try it with the chords? Let's try it with the chords. Okay, I got a bit carried away there. Oh, something I forgot to mention yesterday. This side ribbon. You know how we were talking about this is A, this is B. Let's do it on a higher note so we can hear it a bit better. See, Moog. Model 15 craziness. So on the side ribbon, it kind of made sense to me, and whenever I start a sentence with those words, it means basically it probably makes no sense to anybody else, but this is how it works. It's the other way around. So that's Moog, and that's Model 15. So Moog, model 15. See it, so it's it's rotated by 90 degrees. Obviously you can't go that way, so it's rotated 270 degrees, not 90 degrees. Yeah. Anyway, it's not important. You get, and then that way for the main instrument. Okay, so the ribbon, which that is not. Okay. So you can change the ribbon. If you don't know, in the general settings there's keyboard style, so that's your ribbon. Okay, so we're now in the ribbon. If you're in keyboard mode, you play the main instrument, not the ribbon sounds. That's kind of by design, so it's like boring old black and white keyboard, you know. Whoops. See, this is why I never use a keyboard. I can't even remember how to play chopsticks. But to be fair, I don't think I've played that since I was about 6 years old, which is a good few years ago now. Right, let's get it on a ribbon. And Model D, if you recall, was assigned to the ribbon. Let's have a listen to that. Which is pretty... Anyone remember the clangers? That's a very old TV stop animation thing. But, I've got a great story about the clangers, but now is not the time. Right, okay. Now, something we didn't look at yesterday. Actually, I really want to just hear how those sound together. That's quite nice. Okay, something we didn't look at yesterday, and I was kind of holding off diving into this, is from our main MIDI connections view, there are some specific settings relating to the sources. So let's take a look at those now. It's not like Windows, you can close the other one if you don't want it. You know what I mean? They don't stack up. They're all independent views. Right. Okay. So let's just run through these in sequence. So for the main instrument, someone was asking about this on yesterday's YouTube video actually, and the maximum polyphony. Can't believe I got that pronunciation correct the first time, because it's one of those words that I struggle with. The maximum polyphony of touchscaper's internal instrument is 8. However, if you're controlling other synths, you need to keep in mind that they might support less polyphonies, less concurrent notes than 8. So in the case of Moog and Model 15, I did check this and it is 4. So I'm deliberately, from here, if you've got MIDI enabled, your touches will be kind of capped at whatever this number is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing. Yeah. Take that one off. All good, nothing. And that applies to the side bar as well, because that is part of the main instrument. I don't do any smart stuff about doing a note off of the oldest one to reprioritize your new one. It's pretty, there's reasons why I don't do that. Probably the main one being I'm just not clever enough to write the code to do that. No, there are some other technical reasons why it works that way. Trust me. So that is set to 4. We've also got the option to turn the MPE aftertouch on and off. I figured that might be handy. It's kind of good for testing stuff, you know, so. So if we turn it off for Moog. Turn it off for model 15. Turn it on for model 15. Nothing, Moog. And everything's back in the game. So this, by the way, I should add, you can imagine this is something that is probably going to evolve quite a lot. So what I'll do is, as stuff gets added to this, I won't be taking anything away. I will be adding additional functionality, kind of revealing stuff that's kind of already sitting there dormant under the hood, so to speak. So I'll do new videos to showcase, you know, any of the new stuff, because I have got some stuff in the pipeline relating to the sequencer, but I don't plan on covering the sequencer today. I might do that tomorrow, or I am getting a lot of questions about AUM, so I might flip things round and do an AUM video tomorrow, maybe. Okay. Where were we? Oh yeah, keyboard ribbon. So you may recall that keyboard ribbon isn't MPE at the moment. So what it does by default is sends vertical motion to continuous controller number 74, which if you're a real MIDI geek, you'll know that that's the cutoff frequency of the filter. And it works real nice with this theremin type patch on Model D. Oh. It's actually... So, best laid plans and all that. We appear to have a stuck note. And we don't like stuck notes. Now you've got a couple of options here. For sometimes when it's... Actually, no, that's not a stuck note. What is going on there? Well, I'll say what I was going to say and then we'll investigate that little glitch there. If you get a stuck note on the ribbon, which you can sometimes get if you're really going really crazy like that. Sorry if that really peaked quite. We'll dial down the volume a bit as well on that patch. I think it's just got like a super long decay time. Otherwise it would just, you know, drown at a certain level unless there's an envelope filter as well. Anyway, we'll take a look. What I was going to say is, if you do get a stuck note on the ribbon, if you just flick it off and on again, switch it off and on again, it's the tech support panacea. That will basically send an all notes off to whatever you've got the ribbon source pointing at. So it will only do an all notes off to Model D. Let's prove that. I mean, you can't tell that it's sending a notes off to Model D because we haven't got a stuck note, but anyway, for my own peace of mind, I'm kind of satisfied myself that actually doesn't do what it shouldn't do, if that makes sense. Double reverse logic, good grief. Right, should we let's take a quick look at Model D, because that's kind of bugging me now. Oh yeah, look, it's got a super duper long decay time. So if we up, yeah, it's still going. Look. Let's bring it back a bit. Yeah, so let's just, yeah, that's all it was. It just got a really long decay time. Pull that back again. So that should play a bit nicer now. Okay, so we still got a bit more to cover on the keyboard ribbon. So if we don't want to send, we just, obviously we can barely hear it because the filter's closed. Don't do that. Oof. I think that's just the envelope being real super snappy, isn't it? Yeah, let's just give it a bit of warm-up time. It's probably a mono setting. Is that an advanced? Yeah, it's not set as a poly. Let's make it polyphonic. That really does say. So we. Yeah. Okay. So vertical motion, filter cutoff. Yeah. All good. Horizontal vibrato. Basically, the keyboard ribbon is kind of. It will pitch quantize depending where you are. So if you can imagine, this is chopped up into boundaries, and when you hit a boundary, it will basically reassign that note. However, when you're in between that, you can add a little bit of vibrato. And you can vary the amount of vibrato that you've got. So basically kind of like a sensitivity, if you like. Or really crank it up. Okay, I know this is sounding a bit crazy. Probably not the best patch to demo this, but anyway, we'll stick with it because it's not. Today is not really about making beautiful music. It's about showing you MIDI. This is I was nearly going to call this Kevin Shields from My Bloody Valentine mode. So I hope you can read this. It says, when vibrato is enabled, send downward pitch bends only. Now, this is a kind of a guitarist-inspired thing with their whammy bars, you know. By default, a whammy bar can bend your strings up, or you can bend the pitch down. And that's your kind of standard, what they call a floating tremolo. And what most guitar players do is they get it so you can only push it down. So they kind of block it off so you can't pull it up, basically. And that's because typically when your ear hears that kind of wibble, pitch wibble, I mean, obviously it's very subjective, opinions differ, but there's a general consensus that you're a little bit more forgiving to pitch bends that go off being perfectly in tune. But when they go sharp, that kind of grabs the ear a little. If you're a classical musician, you're probably shaking your head in dismay now, because going slightly sharp or flat is a perfectly valid musical mechanism in a lot of classical music, you know. Anyway, I digress. So all this to say, I wanted to kind of include that option so that you can do like pretty crazy vibrato stuff, but only ever bend it down in pitch. So I've no idea if this is going to work with the patch that we've got set up on Model D, but let's give it a go anyway. See, it's kind of slurring when we go down. So we're only getting downward pitch bends. One of the ways you can try controlling this is just don't waggle your finger, just kind of roll it. Hopefully you can see this. See, with the high sensitivity, you're actually getting quite a lot of pitch bend just by rolling your finger there. And because we've got this switch on, let's switch it off. You hear it's coming up perfectly to pitch, but if we switch that off, now we're going sharp. I don't know about you guys, but that's starting to sound like a car alarm or something. Or maybe it is. Quick look outside. No, that's definitely Model D. So yeah, I quite like that. Play around with it, see what you think. But I quite like it. It's the Kevin Shields vibrato mode. That's, in the very unlikely event Kevin Shields ever watches this, I'm sorry, Kevin. But I love his guitar playing. I love that thing he does with his whammy bar. It's so cool. Right, swiftly moving on. Yet another tangential thing. Last thing to say on keyboard ribbon is destination, pitch bend, range. This is really just about getting parity between your targeted app for the ribbon and Moog, touchscaper. Good Lord. So this will default to plus or minus 2 semitones, which is your classic pitch bend, whole note, up, down. Sometimes you might have it set to an octave up or down. So it's really whatever, conveniently, it's showing here as pitch bend range 2. If we were to set that to 12, if we could set it to 12, got it eventually. Actually, let's leave that open. So we've got an octave there. And now if we do pitch bends, let's turn off Kevin. Sorry, Kevin. So this is going absolutely crazy now. But if we set that to 12 so that they now touchscaper knows that Model D is set to an octave, we're back to a kind of a usable vibrato sensitivity. So I don't think I explained that very well at all, but hopefully I think you get it. So if it's up or down an octave, 12 semitones on the guy that the ribbon is pointing at, then you just want to set this the same. Or maybe you want to set it to that and go do Star Wars disco music, Anyway, that's it with the ribbon side of things. Don't worry about the sequencer synth just yet. I think that has to be covered off by another video. There was something else I was going to mention. Yes, I remember now. I think we're done with this guy now. So we can close that down. This isn't terribly well explained, I don't think, in the user guide, and I haven't seen anybody else use it. Right now, it's going through. I hope you can hear that, it's pretty quiet. It's going through the notes of the chord, illustrated by these kind of stacked dots. If you flip it by tapping it, you end up in scale mode. And this also affects the ribbon, the keyboard ribbon. Okay, let's just, you know what? Let's just switch that off for now, so we can hear what's going on. In fact, let's even pick a different patch. Maybe not that guy. Oh, Chariots. I bet that's a good one. Yeah. Another clicky envelope. It's just, funny enough, it's just like the real thing. Not that I've ever owned one, but those envelopes are really, envelope generators are really snappy. So you can hear that's, let's soften it up a little bit more. Anyway, let's not dwell on that any longer than I have already unnecessarily done so. So this is in scale mode. Chord mode. And the scale corresponds to, basically, if you go into the scene, and the scale is C sharp major. And a Lydian. Oh, I'm doing chords, sorry. Let's go back to scale mode. So C sharp major. Let's start at the root so we can hear what's going on. A Lydian. Oh, sorry. D Lydian. A sharp mixolydian. So I didn't put these scales in. Touchscaper tries to kind of work out what it might be. Sometimes it gets it quite, kind of makes a good guess. Sometimes it just gets it terribly wrong, but you can go in and change these, but this is probably going way off-piste for a MIDI demo. Okay, I think that was the last thing that I wanted to talk about. So, don't know if you can hear that, but that sounds like a fire engine in the background, which is probably a good a point as any to say cheerio. Thanks again, guys. Sorry this is yet another rambly one, but hopefully it's interesting. Boy, I've just looked at the time. It's super duper long, so let's not look at the sequencer in this video, because this is a whole load of rambling and a whole load of stuff to take on board. But I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I hope you find it useful. I hopefully will also get better at these, and they'll be a little bit more snappier, and you won't have to listen to me humming and hawing and whatnot so long. Anyway, I'm Rob, Touchscaper Dev. Thanks a lot, guys. Subscribe to my channel. I never thought I'd actually say that, but it would be nice if you did. And I'll see you guys on the next one. As I say, I reckon that's probably going to be an AUM session, so you might want to bring lunch and maybe a blanket for that one, because that's going to be it's going to be a bit of a slog, I think, if this one's anything to go by. Okay, cheers guys, I'm signing off now. Bye bye.